What's going on, guys? Welcome on in. Losing $216 trading silver. The big picture weekly swing, it's a dud. This comes off the back of the election results, so we're going to dive into this trade, talk about the whole big picture, and potentially the flaws, the downsides, the things I maybe have done wrong, or things I could reconsider, in the future. Because I think there are, some things that you have to ask the question. And here's where things get a little bit interesting. So we lost 216. This is on a $25,000 account. Fairly normal risk, nothing crazy on that. But let's dive into it. So this breaks out. Silver breaks out. Here's the weekly chart. This is a weekly time frame. So I went big picture. I've been watching this for some time. For a long time now. And I've been watching it, seeing if we could break out. And we had 2 attempts. I didn't play it. They were, if you look at the daily chart, this blue line was the area of interest. Okay, this first blue line. So we had an attempt back here in end of September, and then an attempt early October. Those 2 attempts, we did not close above that blue line. So I didn't trade it. I think I was watching it, but then I would be like, let's see what happens as the day goes on, and it just couldn't hold up. So I never got in. We then had this massive day right here. And as the day was continuing, we kept pushing higher and higher and higher. So I said, okay, you know what? This one's holding up. This one has more momentum behind it. This one has more legitimacy. We're going to play it. So I get in somewhere in this area on this candle, and I'm looking for first area of interest would be 35, give or take, but I was really looking for a move up towards 37. That was what my target was on this big picture swing. I was curious to see if we have a reaction here, so I drew that line in. And if I zoom out, why did I draw that line? If you go back many years, that was the high. We had this lower high in 2012. It's kind of crazy that I'm even saying that. That's even like a spot of interest, but it was 2012's area. The next notable lower high here was 37.50. So I marked those off as areas of interest. I was curious to see what would happen there, if there's something to be said. And we kind of just reject there. We didn't really get to that spot, so I don't know how much weight you want to put behind it. But nevertheless, this kind of gets up there. We're looking at a daily time frame now. I go back to the weekly where I traded this on. We get up there. We have, I'm not surprised that we had this doji candle here. Not super surprised by that, but then we just didn't get the follow through. Simple, plain, simple, nothing crazy. Just didn't get the follow through. I mean, you can get all up into like, oh, that's all it is. It doesn't. I mean, you can make it as complex. Well, I was looking for this little wick, and then we had this little higher line. Like, dude. You're playing the breakout. We get the momentum. I'm looking for a continuation. If we get it, we get it. If we don't get it, we don't get it. Simple as that. We didn't get it. Now, when did I get my stop? Is I stopped out under that breaking candle on the daily time frame. So once we fell under 31.50 or so, I was like, I'm out. And we did kind of undercut that by a little bit. In the grand scheme, here's where you kind of play the game of like, well, technically speaking, your stop should be breaking candle low of the weekly time frame, which would mean you would still be in because we technically came a couple cents shy of that low. True. As I'm looking back on it now, true. And this has been something that I've done in the past, notably on Nvidia, on the trade that should have won last month that I didn't win on. And the reason why I say that is because I've played that game where I enter it based off the time frame, and then I put my stop or target based off a different time frame, which is not what I should be doing. Kill me, right? I don't know. Is that, how bad is that? I don't know. It got so close within a couple of cents. It almost would have stopped out anyway. Maybe we still get there anyway. So I don't know. Maybe that's the only thing that I could say is well, that's one of the things I could say is maybe, an area to think, what, dude, just weekly candle, play it. Like, that's it. Because think about it right now, the reason why in my head is I'm thinking to myself, I understand the weekly candle low, but that would mean in order for me to risk that level from where my entry was, I would have to risk down to here. And then my target's going to be so much higher. Like, it's going to make me stay in the trade for way longer. Like, who cares? You know what I'm saying? It's a chart's a chart. But I think I was thinking a little bit about like, well, if I risk it off of here, like that would be kind of an invalidation because based off the daily time frame, you push up, you kind of start to fail back to the downside. This is our retest. Once that started to fail, I was like, I don't like this anymore. And I just left my stop where it was. I didn't get out, manually. But It ends up doing that. So that's the thing. Now, the other piece of the puzzle here is like we break out on October 18th, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, and we do have the election coming up in a couple of weeks. So, what are we thinking here? Do we want to hold this through the election? And I don't really give a shit because when I'm playing silver, like it trades pretty much 24/7, not on the weekends, but like it trades pretty much when, so I don't have to worry about like, oh, the election results come out and I'm going to get, taken out way lower than my stop. No, it's going to be if my stop is my stop, it just hits it and that's it. So there's that piece too. When you're looking at the big picture, I'm not looking at like a 1 minute chart. Big picture, do I really care? No, but it did end up stopping me out shortly after the election results seemed to be finalized. So, that was the second piece. What can I have done there? I could have it could have saved me a couple of dollars had I gotten out, the day before the election right here. But at the same time, let's say I do that and then the election results come out and we're like this and we do the exact opposite. And now I'm sitting here saying, fuck, I should have had this trade. So I prefer to just say on these big picture timeframes, the chart is the chart and the news just kind of funnels in. I don't really care. If I'm entering a trade right as news is coming out or the day before on a massive picture swing, I probably won't do it. But if I'm in from weeks prior, like just let it play out. It's kind of my view. I don't know. You can get cute with it, but then you're going to have the situations where you'll exit it and then it will go to your take profit. You'll have situations where you'll exit it and it will go to your stop. And you'll be like, yeah, I saved money. Either way, I don't think it matters because it's a subjective, decision. So I would rather just let the chart be the chart is my kind of view. But there's always that subjective nature to it, which makes the game interesting, I think. So that was the two things, you could say could have potentially been like, what, we have election coming up. I don't want to play it. I tend to just say, I don't like to think that way. I like to just let the market do what it does. Let the charts do what they do. But you could have said that as an argument for maybe you shouldn't have traded it. And then you could have also said stop loss probably shouldn't have hit. Although, so far this weekly low came down to 30.85 and the stop would have been 30.78. So within literally like 7 cents. Pretty darn close on a big picture to hitting it anyway. But technically speaking, you can make the argument that you should still be in based off the breaking candle low that was set on the entry candle. So there you guys have it. That's the recap for today. Losing 216. Not terrible. Just kind of like, one of those where we'll see how things play out. I still think silver is good. Like looks pretty good. Like this could just be a pullback and then we have a bigger push higher. Like I think it still looks fine. Maybe an overreaction. We're getting a bounce back today as I'm speaking. So I don't know. We'll see how this plays out. But overall, the trend's been pretty strong. It just seems like kind of a dip by higher low situation until proven otherwise. So that's the silver look. Hope it was helpful. I'll leave a link to TradeZella where I track all my stuff down below. I don't know. I'll write a little text on this one, but not a lot. I don't really want to say that there's a massive mistake here. I'll just write some text because I don't think the mistakes was terrible. There really isn't much. It's like I'm not like, oh, the mistakes I tend to use for like clear deviations from my strategy and then like, why the fuck did I do that? Is kind of like, this one there are good arguments to be made both sides and like it's subjective, right? So I'll note that in the note section and we'll go from there. Thanks so much. Link to TradeZella to 10% with TC10 down below if you ever want to use it. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.